All right, welcome back to the lunch table, everybody. Food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz. Make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom right-hand corner. We're also on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, and the iHeartRadio app. My next guest, I want to give a huge shout-out to my man, Dela. He hooked this up one time. He literally just hit me with a text, and he was like, yo, I know the guy who basically did all the keys, maybe even 90% of the keys for all the Boondocks episodes. And I was like, oh, word? Boondocks was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Love.
So then I ended up going on his Instagram page, and he actually has hella credits between Mary J. Blige. He did some stuff on Ellen, Good Morning America. In terms of, like, the artists, Babyface, Boys to Men, Goapele, DJ Quick. And honestly, the list just goes on and on and on. I could literally just pull this up and show you. Also, a quick shout out to Raphael Sadiq, too. He was doing some work with him, too. Shout out to my next guest, DC Keyz. What's good, man?
Hey, what's up, brother?
You know,
Appreciate you having me on, man.
I love finding people like yourself because I feel like the people behind the scenes don't get that much credit. Or, like, their due diligence in terms of, like, a wider audience recognizing who they are. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel that way?
Absolutely. And so, you know,
You got to speak into the mic, man.
Oh, my bad.
The people want to hear your beautiful
I was
voice.
using my sexy voice.
The radio voice you did.
Right on. Yeah, you know, it's not what we set out for. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, cats like me, we just love music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Coming from Hartford, Connecticut, you know what I'm saying? Making my way across the country to try to, like, make something of myself in this music game. You know, I didn't necessarily set out for the spotlight. I didn't necessarily set out to make a name for myself. I was just trying to go for it, what I know, you know, and be the best that I could. But, you know, once you get in the game, you know, things kind of change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you end up helping someone else build their empire, which is great. You know, but at some point you want to get, you know, even if you carry a shovel on Star Wars, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the credit, it's 1 million credit. You know, I'm cool. Let me just be one of them cats.
Shovel man.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, at some point, you know, you do want, you know, you just do.
Yeah.
So.
But, you know, I think in terms of building an empire, you need a whole bunch of people who are on board to recognize what their job is. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the people who end up being on a Star Wars or end up being on the Boondocks, these are the people who were the absolute best at their job.
Oh, respect.
You know what I mean? Because I'll say it here, man, like, the Boondocks was literally one of my favorite shows growing up. Like, I mean, there's so many moments between, like, I mean, the R. Kelly stuff that was going on back then, or, like, a pimp named Slipback. Hey, dude, like, all of those things, they all stuck out to me. And what's cool about it was that, you know, me being a Filipino-American, I felt like I got a glimpse or, like, a satirical, I guess, viewpoint of the black experience in America.
Yeah, I mean, the Boondocks absolutely is that for many cultures across the world. We kind of, in a, I call it the hip-hop's baby, you know what I'm saying? Like hip-hop's Charlie Brown, if you will. Because it definitely reaches the masses, dog. Like, I remember one time I was in Australia, and a kid recognized me from, like, the little behind-the-scenes, the making of the Boondocks clip, and it blew my mind.
That's crazy.
This was, like, 2011, 2012. I was there for... Yeah, dude, it messed me up.
That was your little starstruck moment over there.
Yeah, big time. You know, but, yeah, we totally... I shouldn't say we. The way Aaron Magruder approaches, you know, kind of like social, I don't know the correct grammatical.
Yeah, what you mean? Like he'll take like he'll take like news, recurring events, and then kind of just flip it in his own way.
Yeah. For instance, I just found out that next year, one of the first 2 seasons. For HBO.
I just saw your post.
Yeah, love. Yo,
so you're getting money then.
Whoa. let me not speak for Aaron Magruder, you know, because he's reimagining the show.
Okay.
So we don't know what he's gonna keep or what he's gonna change. You know, I hope that, you know, he's taking a lesson from Power and he won't mess with the music too much. But as far as this HBO deal, they've actually purchased the old episodes as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's good for me either way.
I got Hulu. So that means they're gonna take it off of Hulu. Damn.
No, I don't believe so. I think actually. Well, I read that they're gonna have them on, maybe it's going to be on like a new HBO app or something that they're working out. But they're definitely the plan is to have everything online as well.
And did you just find that out today, or you kind of knew about it prior?
I knew for a few days.
He knew a little something.
Yeah, a little something. I actually still got my little sticker. I was up at Sony earlier in the week. I keep it on my phone when I go.
Yeah. I gotta ask, like, so when the episodes are playing, like, are you playing along to the episode, or do you kind of just lay something down and then they end up throwing that instrumentation on the episode?
Usually I'd show up at the studio, and Latif, shout out to Latif, I think his title is music coordinator. Really dope cat, dope engineer. So Latif and I would get to the studio, and we'd open up Aaron's emails, and we'd have like the video file. So I'd upload the video file into Pro Tools, or I think Pro Tools is what I use mostly. And then there'd be like a list, 6 seconds in, we want a piano, and we want you to just rumble from the low end to the high end for 3 seconds.
Just random notes.
Random, very specific notes from Aaron. Aaron is very, very hands-on. He very much so has a vision for the show. I'm not in there when they're writing, like they're writing now for next year. I'm not in there when they're writing, but he's really, really hands-on, at least in the post-production when they bring me in. He really knows what he wants, and I'm glad that I'm able to hit the nail on the head, because there's a couple other guys that have been involved with the music. I saw one of his notes once that said, "Don't change DC's music. His music defines the show." So I was like, "Yo, can I quote you on that?"
We need that as a quotable somewhere floating around.
That was a huge compliment, from the cat that created the show. To say that some of my work defines the show, that was huge for me.
Well, overall, I feel like music definitely defines the mood of any type of show. Like, I remember doing a film class back at Cal State LA, and we would kind of like emulate popular scenes, right? So I remember in my class, I ended up emulating a scene in Friends, and I was just like, why does it not hit the same way as if I'm watching like the television show? I'm doing the exact same cuts, right? But I'm looking over at the original show, and I'm just like, oh, well, there's laughter in the background. There's like some sort of like little noises in the background that you can't really, I guess, distinguish unless you know that it's like not there anymore. And I'm just like, wow, music plays a huge role.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just telling someone the other day, the format for Boondocks is 22 minutes. It's a 22-minute show.
Yeah.
And then they add the commercials and all that. So out of 22 minutes, on average, I would do about 15 clips of music per show.
That's crazy.
That's a lot. And
Yeah.
I was talking, I think it might have been De La. Shout out to De La. That's more screen time than the actors. If you think about it. So that's why I'm so proud to be a part of the show and the brand. Like, I'm a big part of the show. What I bring to the show is a
man. Say it again. You are a big part of it. You know what I mean? Get your credit, bro. Get your credit.
I'm a big part of the show. Yeah, but very, very, very proud to be a part of the show.
Yeah,
I really dig Boondocks.
How did your love for music start? Because I guess in order for us to understand, like, how you got to this point of being the main producer in terms of like the music for the Boondocks, we need to understand you and your background.
That's what's up. Yo, I'm just a big fan of music, bro. I grew up in a family where we all sang, like in family worship, you know what I'm saying? We all went to church, and we'd have family worship on Friday evenings. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, Christian.
Oh, okay.
So from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, that was the Sabbath. And to bring in the Sabbath, after school and whatnot, clean the house and get that all out the way, then you have family worship. So I grew up singing like that. So I knew how to harmonize and all that. By the time I got to junior high, I thought I was smooth. I could sing and whatnot.
Man, he had the voice to get all the ladies with that one.
Well, I wouldn't say all, but, a few.
A few. The ones you wanted.
Yeah. By this time, this is like 90, 91,
Jesus Christ.
Brian McKnight and Babyface are like, huge. They're like, my idols. So I wanted to be able to play the keyboard and sing like them. So that's where that desire came from, and I just started playing, and I got around some cats that were really dope, and it just started to rub off. And by the time I got to college, I took up piano as my major.
Oh, so you weren't even dabbling into piano when you were younger?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, I was singing, and I have a lot of friends in Connecticut that were just dope as young musicians, playing in church and on the jazz scene and stuff in Hartford, Connecticut. And one guy in particular, shout to Karan Cole, he was making beats at like 14, 15 years old, and I was like, yo, you got to teach me how to do that, bro. This cat programmed the theme song to the Flintstones.
No.
From memory, dog, on a keyboard sequencer. I was like, yo, okay, you got to show me how to do this. And he's one of my closest friends still to this day. He and I both moved out here, and he went on to work with Justin Bieber and Lionel Richie. A bunch of he did his thing.
All night long.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, you got the silky vocals too,
man,
dog.
I got a little something, I just practice in the shower a little bit.
I feel you, brother.
But then, you got to step out to make sure the reverb isn't what's really making your voice. You got to step out.
The reverb can't carry you. But yeah, those are my roots, man. I come from singing and eventually playing in church.
Yeah.
When I got to college, I met this OG guitar player named Spanky, like legendary guitar player, Spanky Alford. And he was playing with D'Angelo and Eric Benet and doing all. Oh my God. Raphael Sadiq, he was the link to how I met Raphael Sadiq eventually.
Oh, okay.
And when I came out here, I had always wanted to be like an A&R producer. So, someone had given me some advice. They were like, "Dude, you gotta take the ticket, and you gotta what is it? Take the ticket you're given, and allow the ride to carry you where you want to go." So in other words, take what you have and use that to get where you want to go. So what I had was an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
When I got my first gig out of college was with Raphael Sadiq back in 2002, and on his Instant Vintage tour. And so as the tour was wrapping up, I'm like, dang, I don't want to go back to Alabama or Connecticut. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm actually good.
I'm here.
I'm doing
something. You know what I'm saying? So I want this ticket to carry me to where I want to go. So I just pulled him aside on the CBS lot. We were doing the Late Late Show. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I was like, yo, like, will you mentor me in this music game? Like, I want to really, I want this to be my career. I don't want to just say I did a tour with Raphael Sadiq and I'm one and done. And he started hugging me. He was like, yeah, man, like, you're dope, blah, 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 blah. But you got to be in L.A. You got to get out here for me to be able to help you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, let me know when you're ready to come out. And he was like, I got you. And I moved out that same summer. And I've been here ever since.
What summer was that?
That was 2002.
Wow, so you've been here for 17 years now.
17 years.
And so when you first moved out here, did you stay with Raphael, or did you have to like find your own place and get accustomed to?
He's my brother, but no, I wasn't staying with him. Okay. Raphael's.
I just meant he was like, yo, once you're ready, come holla at me.
Oh no, trust and believe. Like if I needed him in that way, that's sure. Fam. But we encourage each other to try to stand on our own.
Oh, of course,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? So, but no, he definitely made himself available for whatever I needed when I got here. Knowing that I didn't have like family and whatnot, he became my family. You know
I gotta ask you, because I've had a couple people who work closely with Raphael Sadiq. Are you familiar with Adrian Marcel and Jane Hancock?
I don't know Jane.
Okay.
I've met Adrian. I don't know him well.
Yeah.
Talented cat.
Talented, man. And it's funny because, like, as soon as I seen that you were working with Raphael Sadiq, it didn't really dawn on me up until talking with you, Adrian Marcel, and also Jane Hancock. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, Raphael Sadiq's name might not be, like, big in this contemporary scene of music, but the fruits of his labor, like his seeds, like still reside in like you, Adrian, and Jane, and you three are just doing amazing work. Bro. And many more. I'm hoping to find like a whole Raphael Sadiq like credit list. Like, yo, this is everyone I've worked with.
Yeah, bro, it's cast out as Charlie Burrell. Shout out to Charlie, J-Mo, Jairus Mosey. Mm-hmm. Shout out to J-Mo, Justice West. I mean, the list.
We got to get all y'all on here. I'm just saying.
It's like it's a fraternity of us that came up
sure.
in the soul movement with Ray, D'Angelo. I was blessed to be able to work with him doing Raphael's live album.
Oh wow!
I got to work with Erykah Badu through Raphael's.
What was that like? Working with Badu?
Yo, crazy, bro. It was that same first tour. At the end of the tour, she had come in town to work on the soundtrack for Brown Sugar.
Okay.
And Kelvin Wooten was kind of like me. He was Raphael's like keyboard guy in the studio and whatnot. Shout to Wooten. And Wooten was kind of like, he was climbing up the ladder from musician guy, sideman, studio guy to producer. At this point, he had worked on like Keyz and a few other really big a few other really big acts with Raphael and in the co-producing seat. And he was becoming a producer on his own. So he was like, yo, I don't necessarily want to do the tour. I'm about to go back and, build with my church and their production team. And he had to lead to go back to Alabama. So I got to work with Erica in his absence, So that particular week, what came out of that session was Love of My Life, which ended up... Yeah.
No! That's one of my favorite Erica songs ever.
Yeah. Produced
my
by
guy.
Raphael Sadiq.
I'm going to give you a hug after this because that is legitimately one of my favorite Erica songs.
I'm blessed to have been a part of that magical moment, in musical history. It won a Grammy. I think R&B Song of the Year.
Oh, come on, man! Don't let that go over people's heads, man. Yeah, I won a Grammy.
Well, just to be clear, I can't say that I won it because the song won it. You know what I'm saying?
But you're a part of the song.
I was a part of the session, which I'm grateful for.
Hey, man, look, at the radio station, we get gold and platinum plaques because we play it on the radio. I'm just saying.
Love.
You get what I'm saying?
For sure. Appreciate it.
Man, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like a training you go through, being a part of those kinds of sessions. Being a part of Raphael's camp, I got noticed by Dr. Dre, and I got to work with him for years. So it's like, even though I may not have gotten on a big single with either one of these cats, it's like a training that you get. It gives you a certain confidence when it's time for you to be a producer. I literally left from working up there with Dre straight to doing the Boondocks. And cats were like, yo, I was at the studio with Dre earlier today.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, I had graduated at that point. And now I'm in a situation, back at least then, I felt like I was in a situation where I'm the producer. I'm the captain. I'm the captain now. That's what it felt like, though. You know what I'm saying? It felt like, brother had graduated, and I'm like, okay, I get to make decisions on what snare I use or, what key I work in.
I get you.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, process everything that you just said right now because, I mean, I get it in the sense of, aside from it being part of, working with Dre, working with Erica, working with D'Angelo and Raphael, it's not just a resume thing at that point, but, gaining that experience, being in each of those sessions, by the time you get in with somebody else, you kind of know what to do and how to maneuver through things because, I mean, not everybody gets to work with Dre.
No.
Not everybody gets to work with Erica.
Yeah. And it's crazy because when you first get there, you're nervous as hell, and then after a while, it's like, okay, you're just responding. You're literally just responding to. It was funny when I first met Dre. I guess I might as well tell a little bit of that story.
Oh no, man, go ahead, go all the way in.
So I'm at Raphael's studio every day, and I met a gentleman named Alonzo Jackson. Shout out to Lonnie.
Okay.
Alonzo Jackson's a cat from the Bay. Grew up with Raphael. Yeah. And he had moved to Houston, he and his wife at the time, Tara. Shout out to Tara. And they actually were the team that developed Destiny's Child. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I'm at Raphael's studio, and I meet Alonzo, right, who then kind of takes me under his wing as well. So I start writing with Alonzo and Tara, and then we just, Lonnie, we became tight, like an uncle, nephew, father, son kind of relationship. So we go bust a corner to go get something from the store, and all of a sudden, we're just pulling up in some back alley, driveway security thing. Before I know it, we're walking in the studio. So I'm sitting in the lobby. I was pretty chill, pretty quiet back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still kind of quiet, but I was really quiet back then. So he's like, all right, D, chill right here. I'll be right back. 2 seconds later, Dre walks around the corner. DC was I'm like, hi. What I'm saying?
Crazy.
So he could tell I was nervous. He was like, man, you gotta be nervous, man. I already saw you play with Raphael the other week at the thing. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Oh, shit. You know who I am. Excuse me. I don't know if
No, it's all good.
So, yeah, he made me feel really comfortable. And So he brings me in the room and he's like, I'm gonna pull up some drums and see what you play. He was like, I already know what you can do, but I want to see how you respond. And that's the point of me telling that story. After a while, once you kind of been in these situations and get that training I was talking about, you learn how to just respond in the studio. And I think that's why, bringing it full circle, Boondocks has been great for me because, or just working in film and TV, period, you get to respond to what you see. You know, and in my case, Aaron's notes as well. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
But, I'm grateful, bro. It's all kind of been cyclical and worked together for me.
Now it's making perfect sense. Like, I think you articulated it in a way that kind of applies to the way Anderson .Paak makes music too. I don't know if you've ever been in a session with him.
No, I'd love to, though. Shout out to Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either. For the record, I haven't been in a session with him either. But a good friend of mine, Lola Romero, who is the engineer for Anderson .Paak, she was saying basically all of them just hop in a room together and they just start going at it. Kind of like how you would see like a live session at like a bar or something. Yep. And I'm just like, that's really the essence of how really pure and golden music comes out of. Because I've noticed that whenever I'm in a session with producers who, let's say, just go in with like one idea and one idea only, it's like you're not leaving enough room for the idea to expand and grow. So it's like you can have a bass line, but let's throw in a guitarist.
Exactly.
Let's throw in a pianist while the bass line's going in, and let's just have them like respond to the music.
Exactly. That's it, bro. Just to kind of throw Kenny in there a little bit, shout out to Babyface. These cats have all been like indirectly have been mentors to me. I've learned so much in every situation. One thing I heard him say was we were getting ready for the Soul Train Awards in 2015, and I was blessed to be a part of the pre-production. So we're in the studio, he pulled out the old Whitney Houston tapes. Shoot, 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 do. So we're like, yo.
Damn.
And somehow a conversation struck up, and he was saying in some instances, he would choose Mary J. Blige over Whitney Houston to sing or to hit a certain note or to sing a certain line. Right? I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting him verbatim. But we were like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like schooling us. You know, he's schooling the young kids. He's like, yo, it's the intention behind the note. It's the effort that she puts behind the note that is unmatched. And I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, you know, you could apply that to anything. It's really the effort that you put behind it that really matters the most. So, you know, I forget how I got led to that.
I guess it's the difference between someone who is, I guess, like well trained versus somebody who is. And I'm not in no way am I comparing Mary J. Blige and a Whitney Houston in this scenario, but I guess it's the difference between somebody who is like well trained versus somebody who you can like definitely hear the passion from. Like, you know, you can get chiseled all you want, but then if the person to the left of you has so much passion with it, the passion will 9 times out of 10 like beat that. And I want to draw this comparison too. It's like whenever we have a freestyler over at the radio station, you can tell when someone is really freestyling off the top of their head because one, like you feel the oomph, and then at the same time you could feel if somebody has just done like a pre-written verse, and it's like, okay, you know, that's cool, but I will take the person who is just taking the shit off the top of their head like all the time.
Yeah, the conversation.
The conversationalist.
It's every single time. It's all about the intention and the effort behind what you're doing. And if the intention is to reel me in, you know what I'm saying? You're going to feel that. Sorry if I kind of slumped back a little bit. But
that's how I know you're relaxed.
Nice. You're gonna feel that. You know, when the attention, like one of my favorite Nas lines, I'm the enigma. That, like, what? Yeah. Where do you go from that? You know, you're like, I'm the enigma. There is nothing harder or smarter. Martyr, Godfather, my entrance, your departure. Yo, pardon me, this beat is a
It's crazy.
He's just continues to just pull you in. Yeah. You can't help but be real. Like, he's a master lyricist. I mean, there are many, you know, but I just appreciate his conversation and how the intention behind him, like, just like intentionally pulling you into what he's saying, like looping you in. I love our craft, man.
You know, I think that's the difference between music from back then versus music like today. Because even, I will tell you, one of my favorite songs to play whenever I DJ at, you know, late night type of stuff is So Anxious by Genuine.
So anxious.
So anxious. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not the most, like you know, the way, like, he sings that song, it's kind of unprecedented, and you won't, like, hit those notes the way he does.
Yeah.
And you can't find that today,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like today everyone is just so keen on having the perfect record that sometimes the imperfections is what makes a record that much more clean, that much more, like, cut and raw.
Yep. And that's the way I think, if I can say so, L.A. Reid, as an executive, has kind of built his career. I think he's always looked for the person that had that, and he's done extremely well. One person that I'd say, and I admire her instrument. I'm not trying to be weird or anything. Macy Gray.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Macy Gray. I wouldn't say she's like...
This is a name I don't know.
Oh, Macy Gray, she kind of talks like this a little bit, you know, and she's real cool. She has this fun,
vibey
kind
I recognize
of like
her by
spirit.
the face, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, she's not going to be like in a singing competition with Stevie Wonder, ever. You know what I mean? But she has a dope instrument, and she has this really like raspy, like like sounding like, you know, your aunt, you know what I'm saying, with the cigarettes and the vodka on the table. You know, come here, boy, what you doing? She got one of them kind of things happening, and it's cool. It's different. You're not gonna find another Macy Gray. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with you totally. I think that's a lost art. I think back in the day, everyone was trying to set themselves apart. Whereas now, everybody's trying to sound the same. You know, everybody's trying to get on the trap wave or this wave or that wave.
Well, I think everybody wants to feel... Musically, I feel like people want to get categorized into something. You know, like, we have SoundCloud rap. Like, we all know what SoundCloud rap sounds like. We all know what trap rap sounds like. Rap. As of recently, I just got put onto meme rap.
Oh, okay. I'm not hip.
So meme rap is basically... rappers who kind of just like troll in their words, in their lyrics. Like I had this one guy, and his name is D Bangs, and he talks about like eating butthole and like sucking toes, like in his raps, and I'm just like, all right, bro, cool. And he was like, but you know what I mean? But he was like, but you know, like that's just really part of like the meme rap subgenre. I'm like, yeah, look, do what you gotta do.
Okay.
But you know, but back then I agree, like everybody just wanted to be like their own different thing. Even if we took it back to like the 2000s, like Ja Rule. Nobody else sounded like Ja Rule.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and we had that combination of Ja Rule and Ashanti, and it's like we don't have that anymore because people, on top of that, people just don't want to work together anymore. People want to do everything by themselves.
Yeah, what is that?
It's J. Cole's fault, and he's my favorite rapper, but it's J. Cole's fault.
Shout to J. Cole, yo. That's crazy. One thing I remember about the '90s, man, was this project, and I think this was actually, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody on social media, I'm sure will. I think this is the project that that kickstarted D'Angelo's career. Was the movie Jason's Lyric had on the soundtrack a group called Black Men United. And I mean, this was like all the biggest black stars at the time: Tevin Campbell, Joe, Brian McKnight, Raphael Sadiq. Damn. You know, D'Angelo was on the piano, and it was like this big, huge choir of black. Like,
that's
R&B
there's
stars.
H-Town was on it.
H-Town, you know what I'm saying? Like
Usher was on it. Tony.
Yeah, all the cats. And I just think, you know, it would be sad, like, if we weren't able to do something like that in this generation. You know, I know there are people that are trying, but I think we owe it to ourselves to learn how to come together again. If nothing else, for the music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like for the music. I think I love getting to see people who you wouldn't think see collaborate. You know, like Kendrick is on Raphael's new album.
But yeah, I mean, just the loss of collaboration is what I feel like is really killing the music industry right now. Like, even me working with De La as an A&R, I'm trying to bring that back in the more, like, organic way. Because any A&R could be like, okay, well, this person's going to sound with this person, sound good with them, blah, blah, blah. Here, let's just shoot the record over and over and over. But the idea of trying to get everybody in the studio and like work on something cohesive has always been a goal of mine. And I think we saw something like that with the Dreamville sessions that happened earlier this January. If you're not up on that, like basically J. Cole and Dreamville, they called over like 100 different artists, producers, everybody just to like session up for 10 days straight.
Dope.
And you can hear it in the album where it's just like, damn, like these fools were really in here making this project. And why don't we have these anymore? And we could sit here and complain like, why? But I guess at this point in time, it's just like, we should just do it.
Yeah.
We should just make it happen.
Yeah. You know what? I pray Aaron Magruder finds the courage to make me the music supervisor. Should he be looking for one? You know what I'm saying? If he has somebody in place, I ain't trying to take nobody's job. I'm comfortable with what I do. However, if he sees fit to do so, I would love to be able to work a lot of people's music into the show that I think would really fit. You know what I'm saying? For instance, I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of people this year that I've kind of, chop it up with folks that I had met before, but didn't really get to sit down with, like DJ Battlecat. We can stop right there.
Yeah,
you know
I just met Battlecat like a month or two ago.
Battlecat
is a nice guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really nice guy.
I mean, I wouldn't take the nice a little too far.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But, he's definitely folks. He's family, and, he's a real dude. He's not on that, like, fake, distant industry, bullshit. He really sat down with me. We chopped it up. We got to know each other. We talked about working together. I got to meet his wife. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm blessed that I was really able to display what I can do on Boondocks because it's a good reference for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now I feel like going forward, I really like to pull some cats in. I mean, it's funny. It's a comedy at the end of the day. So, I don't really get to be too deep. On some of the jazz stuff I do, maybe. But I just think it's hip-hop's cartoon. That's how I describe it most often.
That's a perfect way.
And I think, I wouldn't mind sharing, some of the spotlight with some of these cats that are well deserved.
Oh yeah. So, yeah. Well, that's why if you ever watch Luke Cage, okay, so you already know.
Yeah.
So when that soundtrack came out, I didn't even realize Jidenna was on there.
Oh yeah.
And when Jidenna performed "Long Live the Chief" on that show, I was like, wait, this is the same guy who did Classic Man?
Right. Yep.
No way.
Yeah.
And instantaneously, I was like, Jidenna can actually spit.
Yeah.
And I think, your aspirations of being a music supervisor, I suggest that is a phenomenal job because it's literally going back to the job that you wanted to do like way back when. You're literally just like the A&R for this. So
exactly.
Hearing,
exactly.
I don't know who you have in mind for potentially like being on that Boondocks wave of like, you being on the keys, but it's like, whoever you have in mind, I'm just like, I want to hear that.
Well, I guess off the top, and not trying to disclude anyone.
We're just speaking it into existence. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
We're putting it out into the universe. I would have used Asheru a little more. Asheru's the MC that's spitting on the main theme. I Am the Stone, that guy. Dope MC. I'd use him a little more throughout the show itself. Ninth Wonder came on season 2. And I think it was a handful of beats from him that they reused throughout the season. It's Ninth Wonder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not to knock myself out, the fact that here I am, this no-name guy compared to cats like that, and people thought he was doing it because, he got credited before I did on the show. So people didn't even really know that there was just this musician guy doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like I could hold my own. I'm not trying to talk myself out of a gig.
Yeah, for sure.
But just the energy and the sound of the show. I think I can't take all the credit for it.
Just 90%.
Yeah, just 90. Just 90.
That's not too big of a number.
Yeah, but I would like to incorporate more. From Ninth, definitely. I would maybe introduce Battlecat. I like what Labyrinth does. Labyrinth is a dope cat.
I would love to see what Rhapsody could do on
Oh yeah.
Because Rhapsody already works well with Ninth.
Mm-hmm.
So hearing Rhapsody on your shit would be phenomenal to me.
Respect. I'd love to collaborate with both of them.
Oh yeah.
Know what I'm saying? But
we're just speaking it into
Shout
existence.
to Ninth. Shout to Rhapsody.
Shout to Ninth, man. So taking it back just a little back. You were working with Dre, and then how did that bridge from working with Dre end up for you working on the Boondocks?
Oh, well, again, this is like early 2000s, right? So this is before social media was really like popping. MySpace was around and whatnot, but we didn't really utilize it the way we use social media now. Not even, close. So you had to kind of have a reputation to be whatever it is that you are. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, I was a keyboard player, writer, producer. Right? So I'm a keyboard player that a producer who necessarily didn't play any instruments could partner with to get their stuff done. So because I had a reputation like that, I was used around the city quite a bit. I remember one day in particular, I did 7 sessions in one day with like different producers and shit. Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't complain when I get work. That's a good problem to have. So I did my thing, and I'm grateful that I make it a point and a priority to do good business. So I had a pretty good name. So my name was one of few that got to the music supervisor, Derek Big Tank Thornton. And so he interviewed he was interviewing a few cats. And I got there first. I like to be on time. And, punctual. That actually, I think that's actually what got me the gig with Babyface too. But we can come back to that. So anyway, I get to the studio, and Big Tank and my manager at the time, Kenny Burrell, shout out to Kenny. We're all in the room, and he starts just asking me, so you can program beats? I'm like, yeah, He's like, you know how to use the MPC? I'm like, yeah, He's like, what keyboards do you like? And I'm just random, studio house type questions. So finally he goes, well, do you know who Vince Guaraldi is? And I was like, yeah, I studied him in college. He's like, really? So I'm like, okay. This question seems to have a little more weight than the others. Yeah, right. Where are you going with this? So Vince Guaraldi is the cat that did all the piano stuff, or most of the piano stuff on Peanuts, Charlie Brown. He did that's Charlie Brown Christmas special and all that, So yeah, I like that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
That is crazy to me.
So being the music supervisor, he knew that what the call for the show was a blend between Fat Albert and like Charlie Brown, musically.
Gotcha. I see it now.
Right?
I see it.
And if you knew anything about what I do musically, I was literally the perfect guy for that. Like that's straight right up my alley. So God aligned that perfectly. I got there early, so by the time I told him I knew Vince Guaraldi's music and I could sound like Vince Guaraldi, he was like, yo, you got the gig. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 other cats. I can't say 2 other cats. One of the guys was Craig Brockman, that cat that I look up to and respect immensely. Shout out to Craig. I got the gig.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, cool. He pulled up an episode, I remember, and I started scoring it, like literally
right then and there?
Then and there. He was the head of A&R at Geffen at the time. So he was pulled in quite a few directions. And his son, Derek Thornton Jr., is like a baller or he was at Duke. I'm not sure where he is now, but big time baller. So Tank was like doing AAU coaching, and he was at Geffen. Damn. He was all over the place. A lot. So he's hired me to just do the Boondocks. Like, this is your thing. He didn't play some cards all the way right. I'm not necessarily here to talk about him. Mm-hmm. It's my story. But so I'll leave that out. And I don't necessarily like spreading negativity. You know what I'm saying? But let's just say a mishap on his part ended up being something that opened up a huge door for me.
Which was the door?
Well, you gotta call stuff like you see it too, man. It is what it is. I'm not necessarily here to talk about Tank.
Oh no, but I mean the door that opened up for you.
Well, I can't really say one without.
Got you. All good.
So when it came time to turn in the cue sheets, let's just say they weren't accurate, and the cue sheets reflect who wrote what. It's almost like a split sheet for TV.
Got you.
So when the cue sheets got turned in, rather. Let's just say my splits weren't correct. I'll say it that way.
Crystal clear.
Yeah, and so and my credit on the show was just totally missing. Yeah, the guy who did 90%, all of a sudden he's nowhere to be found. So, you know, I'm teddy bear until you push me to a certain point. And he pushed me way past that point. So teddy bear was gone and he met the other guy. And
the Grizzly.
He met Grizzly and he had sense enough to connect me with the executives at Sony Pictures at that point. And from that point forward, they kind of like, again, took me under their wing and kind of mentored me. They realized I didn't understand the laws of film and TV music.
Got you.
And so they realized that I was being deceived in some ways, and the situation was being manipulated. So they helped me kind of get things on track and whatnot.
It sounds like it was one of those life lessons.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I learned quite a bit. At this point, you know, it was far past the reach of even Aaron Magruder. He couldn't do too much. It was either I had the power, if you will, to stop the show. I essentially could have sued Sony Pictures for using my material without my permission.
So I guess naturally my next question is, what prevented you?
What stopped me from
what
doing
stopped you from suing Sony?
Well, because they fixed it, and they did it immediately. There was no waiting. There was no, you know. And it was funny because when I was up at Sony on Monday, I mentioned this to one of my mentors / friends. His name is Rod Davis. He's a senior vice president of music affairs up there, and we were talking about this, and you know, I asked him. I said, I don't even know if Aaron ever found out if he's watching now.
Aaron, you made it 40 minutes into this interview.
Right.
You damn well know now.
Right. But I guess what stopped me to answer the question was they fixed it.
Yeah.
You know, when they found out that I was left off the cue sheets and I was left off of the credits, they fixed it immediately. But by this time, the credit to reflect what I actually did was already given to Ninth Wonder for the handful of beats that they bought. Remember, go back to what I said. I do, on average, 15 pieces of music per show. Well, they only licensed maybe 5 or 6 from him for the entire season.
That's crazy.
You dig?
Yeah.
So, but when the show comes on, I think he was actually in the end credits. You know, you see his name, you know, on a single card. Like nothing else is on the screen when you see his credit. I didn't get that. My shit was a blur, which is why we're doing. You know, one of the reasons why we have to do an interview like this because the world just doesn't know that I was involved. Certainly as much as I was. But to stop them, just to answer the question, or to answer the question as to why I didn't sue or whatever. Tank got me on the phone with them to essentially kind of get himself out of the crossfire. And they called me up to the offices immediately and were like, yo, how can we fix this? You know, and I'm like, well, just get me my credit and just get me the money that I was promised and we're good. You know, I don't need to hurt anybody for me to be okay.
You just wanted the respect of your name there, and also, you know, obviously, you know, everything that you were owed.
Yeah, and it was clear at this point that Tank had kind of done some things that were, weren't, of integrity, and that he wasn't doing certain things up to the standard that Sony operates. And so, whatever, for lack of a better word, punishment that would be associated with that, that's his business. I don't need to. I didn't need to ask them, to enforce that or be. I'm not about that. That's his thing. But I am here to get what's mine. You know what I'm saying? And I did the work, so I should be credited for it.
100%, man. I agree. Respect. You see this handshake? That's 100% factual.
Yep.
Give DC Keyz his credit, man.
Love, man. I appreciate you, brother.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Before we end, that was crazy. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
But you did say that, I guess, being the first person through that door was also like the same thing you did, which led you to start working with Babyface.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
and we'll end it on that note.
A word. That's what's up. That's a good place to end it. So, I'm a regular dude, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these cats, a lot of my friends, they're millionaires and whatnot, and I'm just a regular guy, You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that to say at the time I got presented with this opportunity, I was like taking care of my mom. You know what I mean? Like my mom had just had a big stroke and whatnot, and she's in the hospital. I'm literally like sleeping in my car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like staying in the hospital all day with my mom. You know, as I promised her I would. And so my boy calls me. He's like, "Yo, I need you." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Well, we're doing this Babyface video, and I need you to play Keyz in the video." So I was like, "Well, what happened to Brandon?" Brandon Coleman, shout out to Brandon, amazing keyboard player.
Yeah.
You know, he was Babyface's guy for many years. So he's like, "Well, no, we need two guys, you know, because there's a lot of organ and whatnot." I was like, "Yo, I get to work with Brandon and Babyface. Let's go." So, you know, I got all the information about where to be and when and whatnot. And mind you, I told you I'm crashing in my car at the time. So, you know, I got ready and cleaned myself up and, you know, whatnot. And I got to the rehearsal studio first. You know, they were still setting up the keyboards and whatnot. So I get in. I'm like, cool. You know, I love being early.
Yeah.
Because you get to prepare. So I went in and I just started practicing and whatnot. And as I'm practicing and going over the stuff, mind you, we're just there to be in a video. We might play. You know what I'm saying? So we're supposed to be there just to look like we're playing. But because I like being prepared, I'm like, there's no way all these musicians going to be in here and we're not going to play. You did? So I'm like, let me go over all of his shit, make sure I know all the chords and whatnot and this, that. And as I'm doing that, you know, I'm thinking cats are going to start trickling in, the band members and such. Babyface walked in. As I'm like preparing and going over my shit, and he kind of stood at the front at the door as soon as he walked in. He had his aviators on. He stared at me for a second, and he like shook his head and went like that, and walked in the production office. So I'm like, shit. Maybe I'm not supposed to be up here. I was just thinking all kinds. I'm like, I waved to him. We greeted each other.
Hi.
You know what I'm saying? But he went in the production office, and what I found out later on is that there were speakers in the production office, and he was listening to me play the whole time.
Oh,
so
wow.
For at least a good 30, 40 minutes before anyone else showed up, he's listening to me practice frantically. Like, I got to get this.
And you weren't even aware that
I had no.
That's crazy.
I had no, because I really didn't see where he walked off to. So then the other guys come, we get into the video shoot, we go for lunch at like 1, you know, and the call time was 11, you know what I'm saying? So I think I got there like 10. So we break for lunch, and his manager, Susan, walks up to me. She goes, "Charles." She goes, "Charles." No,
Charles.
She's like, "Charles, we need to talk." And so she pulls me aside, and we just kind of sit down like this. I'm like, "Is there something wrong? You know, you guys don't need an extra guy anymore."
Yeah.
She's
was
like,
that
"No."
too early?
Exactly. You know, all that kind of joint. So she's like, "Nah." She's like, "Kenny loves you." She's like, "He loves you. He loves what you add to the situation. We like what you do with Brandon, and we want to add you to our situation permanently. Kenny wants you to, like, you know, there's certain things I can't say.
Yeah,
but
shout out to the NDAs.
Exactly.
I already know.
So that was my invitation to become a band member with Kenny. My dream job.
Damn, bro. Man.
And I accredit it to him being able to really hear me and him being able to see firsthand that I'm somebody who likes to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? He saw it for himself. Like, the new guy is here before
everyone, and he's just practicing.
And again, he didn't say those words to me, but if you tie in what I said I heard him say in another situation, it's the effort you put behind something that makes a difference. I got to know the person, and so I think I can confidently say that is probably what got me the gig.
And everything just comes full circle. You know, just the knot at the top of the box you did.
Sir.
And we are definitely going to end it on that note. DC Keyz, where can everybody find you, man?
My handle online is DC Keyz, DCKEYZ. I'm you know, like I said, I'm a regular dude, so I check all my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So hit me up, holla at your boy. You know, I'd love to be a part of your film, your record, or if you just need some advice on how to get started, you know, I'd love to give it a shot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, I'm pretty sure you and I are going to be working together a lot since I work with De La, you work with De La.
De La's my newfound cousin.
Right? This is the lunch table. Food for thought. I'm Nico, Blitz, DC Keyz, and we are out, everybody. Peace.